Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to episode 9 of season 7, which is Sein und Zeit.
Yep, Sein und Zeit.
Yeah.
Sounding a bit rough in the voice there, Graham. Are you feeling a little bit under the weather?
A little bit, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk X-Files.
Okay. I reckon, yeah, Sein und Zeit. Everybody loves a bit of German. Question is, did either one of us bother to look it up and find out what it actually means before we came on? You
Yes,
did. Go
I
on then.
did.
Hit us with it. Hit us with your best German.
Being and time.
Being and time.
Yes. It's the title of German philosophers
If you
Martin
can say
Heidegger's influential 1927 book.
Ah, okay.
I mean, that's as far as the research goes, but I do have that.
All right. Well, okay. There you go then. Well, yeah. So we're on to the first part of a two-part mythology episode, which, as we'll get into, kind of wraps up really all the stuff around Mulder's sister,
Yes.
which I know you love. So it's always a sign that you're going to love it if that stuff's involved. But I mean, I've been looking forward to seeing where you sit on this, just because I know that you've never really been a fan of the whole Samantha stuff, but I've always kind of thought, well, that's because they drag it out. It's because it's that carrot they've got to keep dangling. And this is where they stop dangling the carrot and they get to the point of what happened. So I'm kind of like, I wonder how Graham will receive that. So
Just remind me, is it Conduit? Is Conduit the one where you have the Samantha drinking game?
yes.
Yes. If
Yes, that was the season 1
alcohol
episode.
or water, if you drink during Conduit, you'll either be absolutely super drunk or very well hydrated. Either way. And I think I still have a hangover from that one because that
Quite
it just the
possibly.
amount of Samantha.
Yeah. So yeah, this is where we finally get the hard and fast answers. Now the question is, will we like those answers? And as you tend to ask me, what's the legacy of this episode? I would say the legacy is that it has left fans somewhat divided. I tend to find that people either like the emotional angle that this two-parter takes and are satisfied by that, whereas others kind of are like, they don't like it because it doesn't adhere hard and fast to, I guess, what their expectations might have been, which would be the whole alien abduction angle. But we'll get to that when we get to the second part, obviously. So the first part, I'll go with season first. Where do you think IMDb users rank this episode in season 7? Just season 7. So that's
Okay,
from
I've got a number.
22 episodes.
8.
8. And you would be correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Any particular reason you felt hot about that number?
No, it just popped in my head.
Okay.
Really, I figure it's mythology. It's going to be in the upper half. I don't feel like this is one of the best episodes of the season so far. So it doesn't feel like it's going to really go up there. And then you've said that there is a divisive nature about this one as well. So I just kind of went safe.
Okay. It's a fairly reasonable place to guess, I would say. Okay. With that in mind, across the whole series, not just the season, where would you guess it fits?
152.
Oh, 152. Wow, you're way off. 97.
I was trying to think where the other episodes. I didn't think any of this season's episodes were as high is into the hundreds, like into below 100.
Yeah, you were shifting it into the latter quarter, and it's
I feel like every time we've looked
half.
at the stats for this season, they've all been like bottom third of episodes of the whole series. So I just figured I'd be safe.
No, this. So it's actually it's all right. It's doing quite well numbers wise, I think. And again, I think it's 97. That's like almost smack bang in the middle, somewhere in like right smack bang in the middle, which I think again just feeds into the idea that this is quite divisive. I think people either love it or they hate it. But yeah, all right. Let's get into it and see whether you will fall into either one of those camps. Sein on Zeit. We open up with a girl. Hang on. Yeah, girl saying prayers. It said, I read that then, girl saying prayers. I had a feeling I was back in my Signs and Wonders notes because we're into like religious cast. So we got a little girl saying her bedtime prayers, and the parents put her to bed. Dad watches Harsh Realm down in the living room below. I don't know if you ever saw Harsh Realm.
Right, I don't. I remember it, but this, like, it's. I had to pause the episode and go searching because I'm like, they've made a point of watching this and going, "Hey, this is really good."
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, oh, "Harsh Realm, Chris Carter." I was like, "Oh my, that's just."
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. But
so we've got
a creator saying his other thing was great.
I know it does reek a little bit of blowing smoke up your own ass.
And let's just say, this doesn't happen once. This happens again.
Yep. I think it's at this point the show had already been cancelled, so this was Chris Carter's way of saying, "Hey, come on, this is good." So,
this guy liked it.
I think it was a bit sore at that point that it had been cancelled so early, but I did actually watch the show, and it was all right. I'd have gone along with it, see where else it had gone, where else it would go if it had continued, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel like it was must-see television or anything in the way that the X-Files is. But yeah, there you go. So the dad hears a noise and he goes to check it out. He goes into his bedroom first and he sees mum, or his wife, writing. She's just writing away at the desk. Don't think much of it. And then he goes to see his daughter, and when he turns her over, she looks dead. She looks, basically, it's just not an image that any father would want to see. She just looks lifeless. He freaks out, and we see at that point that the mum is writing. The thing that she was writing is, "No one shoots at Santa Claus." And it's at that point that the door slams on the dad, because like once he'd had his bit of a freak out, he looks back at her and she's fine. Daughter's fine. So he kind of takes a breath, settles himself, and he goes out. But as he goes out the room, the door slams behind him, and then blood starts to come from under the door. He bashes the door down, and the kid is gone.
Yeah, and I'm not feeling hate yet. Because I am intrigued about the writing on it, and then the kind of ghostly apparition of the daughter. So like I don't feel like it's alien abduction. Like there's certain things you expect, the flashing lights, the kind of odd imagery, the kind of time deviation. None of that's here. So I am kind of curious where it was going to go at this point and how it was going to play out.
Did when you went into watching this one, was it in your mind that I had told you that this is the one that wraps up?
Yes,
the Samantha stuff.
Yes. So I seen the little girl going to bed, and I was like, "Oh God, please!"
You were thinking lights were about to hit.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when they didn't, did that then start to affect the way, not only that you thought about the introduction, but maybe the way you thought it might then head in terms of Samantha?
I tried to push the Samantha stuff out of my head because it's not prevalent. Right. It's not really at this point. So I'm thinking just try to be open and go with the episode to see where it's going to take me. And it's not just jump ahead, because there's nothing worse than you get yourself into a mindset of, I'm not going to like this. And then you start looking for every bit of thing that's going to aggravate you. So, I was happy to go with it.
Okay. It's it sets itself up as if it is going to be like your alien thing, but then when it's not, and it's something that seems a bit more sinister, a bit more ghostly, it kind of it's like, okay, this is intriguing. So Mulder goes to the office to get the case. He's not wanted though. He says if they don't ask the right questions right now, they won't get asked. So basically he's been fobbed off because, this is a little girl been abducted. They know this is Mulder's wheelhouse. They know how personal he can get with this kind of case. So they're kind of essentially saying, stay away. But he knows that they won't ask the questions he's willing to ask because of his experiences with Samantha. So Skinner says that my agents have a pool going. Which is,
I found that a weird for Skinner to tolerate that, and even weirder for him to bring it up to Mulder. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because Skinner's the kind of man that would be like, look, you stop that, we're here to do a job.
Yeah. And I imagine he would have done with those agents, but he's now using it to make a point to Mulder, which is essentially, look, mate, I don't think there's any chance we're finding this girl alive. It's pretty much a done deal given the blood and all that kind of stuff. So the media circus is already gathered around the house when Mulder pulls up. He gets out, kind of walks through the crowd, and just from the way it plays, you get the sense that Mulder's really in his own head at this point, and he's been through this media circus himself, no doubt, when his sister went missing and stuff. So Mulder speaks to the real estate lawyer. This guy, oh man, what a tool. It's their family lawyer basically, but he's a real estate lawyer. He's not the kind of lawyer who should have anything to do with this case. But he calls him out. Mulder calls him out, basically makes him look like the tool that he is. And I think in some way that kind of engenders a little bit of trust from the parents, because they can see that Mulder he wants to get to the truth. He's not interested in the games that the lawyers might be playing, that the media might be playing. He just wants to find out what the truth is. So, the parents speak with Mulder and they lie about the note. So, I can't remember what they say. Do they just omit it completely?
I think they just say they found it in a certain place. They don't say if he wrote it or that. They just...
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So he promises them that the FBI will try their damnedest to find their daughter. And it's...
This is also the point where he mentions he was watching the TV show again.
Yeah, when the dad was like, I was watching this show. It was really good.
Really good.
It's like, concentrate on your daughter, mate.
Yeah, remember your daughter's missing. Yeah, she's been abducted.
Yeah. At this point, at this point, you would never want to watch that TV show again. Yeah, because every time you saw it, you would remember that was the point at which your daughter was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, let's forget about the TV show, Chris Carter. We know it got axed. We know it's a sore point.
So
Believe it.
I can go with the initial one because I think the initial one's fine.
Yeah,
Little ham-fisted. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. This one had me laughing because it was so hopeless and ridiculous. But I enjoy the fact that it's there.
You enjoy the fact that Carter's pushing so hard to try and get his show renewed, try and get people interested in it. But yeah, I feel like it's that this is that moment as well where the family kind of need assurances, and Mulder can't really. He can't make any promises that, or the best he can promise is that the FBI will try their damnedest, but he doesn't fall into the trap, as often happens in TV shows and movies, where the agent says, "I promise I'll get your daughter back," which always annoys the hell out of me when characters say that, because it's like, why would you promise that? That is not a promise you could. Yeah. Okay. So Scully arrives at the motel and Mulder is sat there thinking with no lights on. Skinner is pissed because there's no report. Mulder was supposed to hand in a report after speaking to the parents. But the parents are being held for further questioning. He knows they lied about the note. And at that point, Mrs. Mulder calls and leaves a message saying, "Call me when you get back." She sounds like she's got something she needs to tell Mulder. But yeah, Mulder knows they lied about the note. He kind of, because he knows something that he's not yet told us. But so we go to an FBI briefing, and it's not looking good for the parents. And then that's when Mulder comes to their defense. So this is classic Mulder. This is like when all the evidence is pointing to a particular suspect, when everyone else that you work with is all saying, "Yep, it's them." Mulder pulls the old, "Nope, I don't think so. I think they're actually innocent, and I think there's something a bit more supernatural afoot, shall we say."
But his reasons are solid. When he lays out all his reasoning here, you're like, yeah, I mean, I can't argue with anything you're saying.
Yeah. So, is it in that point when he references? Does he reference the note and calls back to how it was used? That was something that was also. I think that's a little bit later in it.
Is that? Where are we? Tell me where we are. I've lost where we are again.
So they've just had the FBI briefing. Yes. And basically, it's not looking good for the parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does all his reasons in there. It's the next scene where he shows Scully the old note.
Okay. Yeah. Scully tells Mulder he's personalizing the case because of his sister. He says, "No aliens here, sis." Recognizes the note from a 1984 case. Yeah. Yes. So he's adamant it's not about his sister, because I mean, like, he might identify with it because it's a little girl who's gone missing, but he's not saying it's aliens. That's not where he's at with this. It's not where he's trying to push it, but he has a case from 1984 in which that very same thing was said or was left by the killer. No one shoots at Santa Claus. So that gets me intrigued, just because this now starts to feel more like a Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon type deal, rather than a UFO type deal, and that gets me much more kind of invested.
Yeah, I'm the same. 100% with you. It makes it far more interesting to me. I think back to Paper Hearts as well. It has that kind of feeling about it, and I'm intrigued by that element.
Yeah, there's definitely a Paper Hearts vibe about this, and to some extent, I feel like we had all the episodes about Samantha from an alien angle, and then we had Paper Hearts that kind of brought a more earthly, although it did have a supernatural bent, it had a more kind of earthly, like a human killer kind of thing about it. Yeah. And I feel like because that episode actually was so good, one of the best, not just one of the best episodes of that season, but actually one of the best episodes of the show. I feel like that planted the seed with Chris Carter to maybe try and bring the two elements together. Like, he's flaunted the idea that, oh, it's alien abduction. Then he's flaunted the idea that actually, no, it's a serial killer. And I feel like what he's doing here is to try and bring those two elements together in some way across this two-parter, to get like the best of both worlds, so to speak. So we see a playground kind of thing with these kids, and there's a guy filming them, filming the kids playing, as is.
Yeah, red flags. We've seen this character before. It's like, get the police now.
Yeah, especially when one of those kids ain't even your own. When none of those kids are your own, then that's, okay. We go to Kathy Lee. So this is a woman who pleaded innocent to the abduction or killing of her own son, but then changed to a guilty plea after years of incarceration. And so they go to see her. They go to see her in the cell, and Mulder asks her about the note, the Santa Claus note. And he says she's innocent, and now the latest victims need her help to corroborate their story. And she says she can't. So she's clearly spent a lot of time in an institution. She's, obviously she's had these whacked out ideas about, she saw her son in like spirit form, and then he went missing, and so they're like cuckoo kind of thing. She actually did it, and so she spent years kind of denying that she did it and holding to this other story. And then I think she got to a point where she realized that if she told the people, the people who would checking in on her and monitoring her and stuff, they told them what they wanted to hear, it might stand her in good stead to maybe get released at some point, or just
And you can understand that train of thought. Like when you've been incarcerated for that length of time, you're going to say what you need to say to get out.
Yeah, if no one's listening, if you've been saying the same thing verbatim for years and like nothing's changing, then it's possibly you might just give up and say that I just need to get out of here. So I'll do what I need to do to get out of here. So Scully says that Mulder was completely irresponsible for feeding her delusion. He says he's going to find those kids, and she says, "What if they're dead, Mulder?" Which kind of hits him a little bit like a knife, because again, there's the personal angle here, but he's determined to find them, and he's more to the point, he's determined that he's got an angle. He's determined that the testimony he's just not so much heard but read from her previous like testimony is true, because it aligns with the testimony of the parents of this latest girl who's been abducted. So as far as he's concerned, that that is the angle they need to be pursuing. So Katie, or Kathy Lee, she goes by Katie as well. She's in a prison cell. So this is the woman who changed the story. She's in a prison cell after Mulder and Scully leave, and she's crying in a cell before seeing her son. Her son suddenly just appears to her in her cell, and then she shouts for the guard. She calls the guard to bring them back, i.e. bring back Mulder and Scully. So Mrs. Mulder, i.e. Mulder's mum, leaves a cryptic message on Mulder's answering machine while she burns family photos. So she's got like, the photos of Samantha and, the usual suspects, and she's just burning them away. And she, leaves this cryptic message that kind of suggests she's got something to tell him about maybe Samantha and whatnot. But Mulder shows the parents a tape of Kathy. And Kathy, so obviously she called them back, and they've recorded a message from her to the parents. And her message is that my son is safe and protected and in a better place. Now, this obviously, anyone who, and thankfully this isn't something that I've experienced, nor do I ever hope to, it's nothing any parent wants to experience is the loss of a child. But if your child goes missing, and the strongest possibility is that they are dead, the one thing that every parent in that situation wants to hear, wants to hope for, is that they're in a better place, is that they're happy, that they're not hurting, and and that's essentially what this message is saying. Now, that's not to say that the parents of the girl from the beginning have given up all hope of losing her, but there is a strong likelihood that she might be dead. And if that is the case, there is hope being offered here from the perspective of she's gone to a better place, which is really what this is all about. Which is really what this whole two-parter is about to a large degree.
Okay, I'll take your word on that, because obviously, part two yet.
Yeah, you've not seen it, but I just, so there's a man watches Mulder on the news along with the kids that he videoed. So he's got all these different TVs and stuff, and he's got Mulder on the news on one of them, and then on some of them he's got, just loads of different footage of different kids, and seems real legit and kosher. Like,
oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Skinner chews out Mulder for gathering grim fairy tales. The Twink defense, as he puts it.
Yeah,
it's like,
obviously Mulder's in the news just doing his own thing,
and
causing chaos to their case, which I kind of love. The fact that they're all going like, every other FBI agent is like, it's the parents, we're focusing on them, and Mulder's out of the news going like, wasn't them, no.
Pursuing his own angles, but because it's got something of a spiritual bent, it's like there's nothing Skinner can do with that. Like, we can't prosecute anyone with that. That's the Twinkie defense. No one's going to get off with murder with that as a defense, as evidenced by the fact that Kathy Lee is still in prison for having made the very same defense. So Scully comes in and informs Mulder that his mum is dead. Yeah.
And she does not go lightly into this conversation, does she?
No.
I just feel like there's easier ways to break that kind of news. Just like, I need Mulder for a moment. Yeah, no, I need him. Well, look, actually, his mum's dead. It just, and
all the tact of a wrecking ball.
Yeah, we need to move on because we've got things to do. But
I gotta say, I'm always in doubt when a major character dies off screen.
Yeah.
When we're told that they're dead.
Yeah.
But she is dead. She doesn't come back. So this
Would
is
you call her
the
a major character?
Well, major in the sense that, she's been in a lot of episodes. She's been a key character in certain storylines, and she's obviously very important to Mulder. So, yeah, I'd say an important character in as much as Scully's sister was, and in as much as Scully's mum is. So she's a recurring character. So yeah. But just the fact that we're told she's dead, and it's not something we got to see, and that always makes us go, right. So we got two characters, didn't we, at the start of this season in the awful two-parter? Like Albert Hosteen died off screen. We were told he was dead. What's her face? Diana Fowley died off screen. We didn't actually see a body. And then we got Critchgow, who again we saw the body, but we didn't actually see that was. But it always leaves that empty space. Are they though? But yeah.
Would you like to guess how many episodes she's been in?
I bet it's going to be lower than one would anticipate, but I'm going to say 11.
Ooh, wrong. Oh, it feels quite right. Yeah, quite good to be on the opposite side and telling somebody they're wrong, Brian.
Go on.
13.
13. All right. See, I was being...
but one of them, it says here, is archival footage.
Right.
And that's episode The Truth.
All right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So, yeah. So, I was close. I was pretty close. I think 11 episodes across 7 seasons. Like, if they bring you back that many times over that length of time, I think that's enough to warrant being called an important character. But yeah. So we find out she's dead, and then we go to the scene, which was obviously her place. She's no longer there, apparently. The body's been taken away. But there's police on the scene, and there's an oven open, and which suggests a gas suicide.
Yeah, I think so.
That's kind of what.
But they also mentioned medication later on as well.
Yeah. So they're suggesting that she's taken diazepam, but also gas herself, basically. Don't know if she stuck her head in there to get the full force or.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
But Mulder struggles to. Yeah, indeed. Mulder struggles to accept it. Why would she do it? Where are the photos? Was it all staged? So he's starting to think, has she been bumped off? Did she know something that she wanted to tell him, and because of that she's been bumped off? He asks Scully to do an autopsy. She's like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Mulder. It's like, but, I get it though. He says that, you're the only one I trust. Because at first she's defiant. She's like, Mulder, how can you ask me to do that? Like, it's your mum. I knew her. I've met with her before.
There's a morbid nature to it, isn't it? It's like you're the only one I trust to cut up my mother.
Yeah.
It's
when you say it like that.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Like, you can see Scully. Like, she's just not wanting to do it at all.
Yeah. It's quite messed up. It's a messed up thing to ask of your best friend.
But she's kind of stuck in a situation because she knows that she has to do it to give him the closure.
Yeah. So Mulder speaks to Kathy again about my handwriting. It's that. Oh, all about. Right. It looked like I'd written civil out. See what happens when you just scribble notes. So Mulder speaks to Kathy about her visions. She says the kids are taken to stop them from suffering, and they live in the starlight. But who is they? That's the question. So she says they take them. So the way she frames it here, it's almost like some beings. Now call them what you want: aliens, angels, starlight beings. I think this is a very clever device, I would say, that Carter and his team have come up with that allows for a multitude of spiritual perspectives to read it as they will. So obviously, from my Christian perspective, this would be essentially angels stepping in and taking those children to a better place before something horrible is about to happen to them. That's the theory anyway. That's Kathy's theory, Katie's theory.
I don't like her, Brian.
You don't like her?
Nah. There's something about her right from the start that I don't feel comfortable around her, and I don't know if I fully trust everything she's saying either.
Right. Okay.
And I can't put my finger on why, but there's just something about her that just puts me in the back foot a little bit.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
I like, to me, I just get the sense that this is a woman who is. I mean, for a start, she lost her kid. Second, the story that she told, which seemingly is true because we've seen it play out with this other family, was completely ignored. She wasn't believed. She's been made out to be crazy, and she's had to go along with that notion that she is crazy in order to try and get some form of life back. I just think she's got nothing left. She's quiet, she's insular, she's guarded. And this guy, Mulder, comes along, the first person in 20 odd years, who actually says, you know what, I believe the story you were telling years ago, not the one you've been telling lately. And I think there's a certain air of trepidation there in trusting him and saying, okay, then I'll tell you, but I'm making myself vulnerable here because I've been down this road before and no one believed me. So I just think it's played that way. I think that the actress who's playing it is playing it in a very, she has very little fight. She has very little, like I say, she's always very insular, very quiet, very reserved.
Still don't trust her.
So, kids rock up to the North Pole Village, where a creepy man watches them before telling their teacher that Santa is just flying in.
Yeah.
This guy's practically kids.
He's practically salivating at the park.
Oh man, just yeah,
it's
grim.
Yeah,
absolutely grim.
And it's wonderful because the guy and what must amount to 60 seconds of screen time, and you just detest the guy like every time he appears.
Yeah. So he runs off and gets dressed up in his Santa outfit. Mulder listens to the message from his mum when there's a knock at the door. It's Scully. Mulder tells her he knows why his mum was trying to reach him. It was about how his sister is connected to this case. Loved ones receive visions from old souls protecting the children. His mum must have written a note like the Lafayettes and Kathy did. He says, I've been looking for my sister in the wrong place. That's why they killed her. She tells him why she killed herself. And Mulder breaks down. She was telling you to stop. She was trying to take away your pain. So apparently Mulder's mum had a disease, cancer of some sort. She didn't have long to go, and she wanted to go out on her own terms.
Yeah.
At least that's the theory.
That's the theory. Yep. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like all the episodes we've seen with Samantha, all the episodes we've seen with Mulder pining over her, going to the parents' house for answers. And it's just like that reflection on life is suddenly the catalyst to unburden all your sins, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well, it's like with the alien abduction side of things, everything that we have to go on in terms of, oh, Samantha was abducted by aliens, it all comes from clones. Like we've seen Samantha, but it's actually not Samantha. It's always clones of Samantha. So yeah, just something to bear given the theories that are getting bandied about in this episode, I think.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Lapierre sees her daughter in the starlight. So she's there, starlight kind of shines in a room, and then she sees her daughter. Skinner calls to say that the Lapierres have something to say, but they'll only speak to Mulder. So Billy tells Mulder what she saw. It's a bit funny name for a woman, Billy. I don't think I've ever heard of a woman named Billy before, but yeah. Although, Billy Piper. Billy Piper.
Billy,
it's a woman.
From The Fog, the radio DJ.
Oh, she called Billy.
Yeah.
Been a long time since I've seen The Fog. Yeah, so Billy tells Mulder what she saw, and 74. So she says that her kid was saying 74 to her. It seemed like he was mouthing the word 74. Mulder gives up and says it's time to go. He says you can't see a spirit and expect her to still be alive. Both things can't be true, which is a pretty good kind of deduction, or sense of reasoning, I would say. If your son, so it's he's desperate to find the kid. Sorry, daughter, not son. If her daughter is coming to her in spirit form, then she clearly can't still be alive. How does that work? Mulder asks to be taken off the case and to take some time off, which is quite a big step for Mulder, I would say. It's not the kind of thing Mulder would do. And actually, the only time he would normally do something like that is if he was trying to get one over on someone and pretend that he's stepping away and then go off and hire.
I kind of thought that's what was happening here.
Right. Because he's done it like so many times before, or something like that, where it feels like he's, yeah. Okay. So the three of them are driving, Skinner, Scully and Mulder. They're driving back home, presumably, and they go past a road sign that says 74. So it's Junction 74. And is it Scully that asks for a map? I think it's Scully, innit? I can't remember who it is. For some reason, I feel like I could be wrong. Maybe it's Mulder, I don't know. One of them, anyway, takes the leap of faith and says, passes a map. And they look it up, Junction 74. They follow a road that comes off it, and it leads to a Santa's grotto, which obviously the connection there being no one shoots at Santa. Could there be a connection between Route 74 and, was this spirit, this starlight spirit of the Lafayette's daughter trying to tell them something? So they arrive at the Santa's grotto. They check the place out, finding the room full of tapes. One of them marked with Amber Lafayette. So, boom, they found her, or certainly found the one who'd taken her. A man slams the door. This is our Santa Claus guy, the creepy guy. He slams the door, locks him in, then runs. But Skinner chases him down. Mulder and Scully break through the door, catch them up, get the guy to his knees, start to arrest him, and then Mulder notices his surroundings, and quickly after him, so do Scully and Skinner. And then we pan out or pull out, come up in a crane shot to see what looks like at least a dozen shallow graves. Yeah. Child-sized shallow graves.
Yeah.
End of episode.
Great ending. It's a great ending. Like that final pull up, like, almost makes you want to immediately jump into the next one.
Yeah.
To find out exactly what's going on. I think it's a terrific image, and it's that kind of the way they focus on the faces of Mulder as he's like Scully, and just the nod, look around, and she kind of studies it, and it's the realization. Terrific ending to this episode.
Because it's just like there's so much that's encapsulated in that shot, which is like one, just the sheer number that this guy has killed, and two, the very possibility that Mulder's sister might be among them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll wrap up. I was a little bit worried going into this one because of the whole Samantha angle. Because I am burnt out on that character. So it was nice to find something that was tangentially related to Samantha, but not immediately. It felt, you had Mulder always dealing with the trauma, dealing with the situation, the kind of somewhat support from his colleagues as well. Like Scully's there for him. Skinner gives him a lot of rope on this one as well. Like, it really does, considering like it's law enforcement investigations. He shouldn't be anywhere near it, but he is. The mother passing away is like an interesting, almost what the hell's going on there? Because it feels as if that's like a thread to be unravelled still. Why is she being silenced? Who did it? I'd say, like, for the first part of a two-parter, it's really solid. And I think, like, I watched this one twice, just because I would take. I really didn't like Katie. Is it Katie? Yeah.
Kathy,
I just didn't. Kathy. I didn't like that character. The second time round was better with her. I just kind of felt like stuck in the prison, listening to her tale. Kind of brought the episode down a little bit for me. I'd still going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the second part. I want to see where it goes.
Yeah. If I was just coming to this the same way you are, which is, I've only seen this one, I've not seen the second one yet. I'm always on that kind of what happens here could all just take a nosedive, so it really hinges on the second part. For me, I have a really emotional connection to this two-parter. I always have, and for that reason, I've always found it a pretty satisfying climax to the whole Samantha storyline. So for me, it's a 5. Okay. And that's because I know where it's going. I know how it's tied in to what comes next. So, yeah, for me, it's a 5. Because, like, we've got 7 years of this story, this Mulder trying to find his sister. No matter what they did, it was going to be hard to end it and satisfy everyone. And I think the route that they take, for me, I'm in the camp that is satisfied. But I totally understand why much of the X-Files camp wouldn't be.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, this is a 5.
Okay. So with a kind of spoiler-free tease, tell me a little bit about closure.
Well, obviously we had a lot of illusions in here to Silence of the Lambs. You know, like it had that kind of vibe about it, the whole serial killer element. I feel like a very deliberate piece of casting in the next episode, like wants to continue those nods to Silence of the Lambs, because we get Dr. Chilton from Silence of the Lambs in the next episode. And he plays a psychic, shall we say.
Okay, right.
So he's someone who thinks that he can help law enforcement in terms of something like the Clyde Bruckman angle, but taken seriously. I'll say no more than that, but it obviously leads us to answers which may or may not satisfy you.
Okay, well, that's a setup for the next episode. So come and join us for episode 10 of season 7, Closure, where we will discuss how that finishes up and whether it satisfies or not, as the case may be. As always, if you don't mind, give us a like or a rating on whichever podcast service you listen to us on, or on YouTube, where you can see our ugly mugs as we discuss the X-Files. And we will see you next week for Closure.